It's August the 3rd, another hot summer day in Seoul. Welcome to Business Daily. Good to have you with us. I'm Kim Young-gil. The Bank of Korea released its preliminary data on Korea's balance of payments for the first half of 2017. Korea's service account deficit hit a record high, with the deficit more than double that of the same period last year. Kim Mo-kyun starts us off.
According to the Bank of Korea's preliminary data Thursday, Korea's service account deficit for the first half of this year hit a record high of $15.7 billion. The bank said this is mainly due to an increased deficit in the travel and transportation balance. For June alone, the travel balance deficit hit close to $1.4 billion due to a rise in the number of outbound travelers, while inbound travelers to Korea dropped by more than 30% on year. Following Beijing's travel ban against the deployment of the THAAD missile defense system on the Korean peninsula early this year, the number of Chinese tourists coming to Korea has continued to decline. In June, Chinese tourists visiting Korea fell below 260,000, down more than 60% on year. Another major component, the transportation balance, also worsened, recording a deficit of $2 billion, mainly due to the impact from Hanjin Shipbuilding's bankruptcy last year. As a result of the worsening service account, Korea's current account, composed of goods and services, which has been in its longest ever continuous surplus since March 2012, saw that surplus narrow by 30%. Kim Mo-kyun, Business Daily.
Korea's foreign exchange reserves hit a record high for the third straight month in July. The Bank of Korea says the nation's FX reserves reached $383.7 billion last month, up more than $3 billion compared to June. The central bank added the weakening dollar raised the value of other currencies in Korea's reserve holdings. Korea remains the world's ninth largest holder of foreign exchange reserves as of the end of June. Stiffer mortgage rules will begin applying in parts of Seoul today. An analysis shows they could impact hundreds of thousands of borrowers in the coming months. Part of the government's new real estate regulations unveiled Wednesday was a lowering of the loan-to-value and debt-to-income ratios to 40% in overheated areas. Financial authorities estimate some 400,000 borrowers stand to be affected by the new rules over the second half of the year. They said the amount of loans mortgage seekers could acquire would drop by 31% to an average of 101 million won, or about $90,000 per person. Total mortgage lending is set to be slowed by some $17.7 billion. The full implementation of the new LTV and DTI rules on designated speculation zones in Seoul's Sejong and Gwacheon is expected to take a couple of weeks. In Korea, there is a surprising amount of money sitting around in dormant bank accounts, whether they are accounts made for children or payroll accounts created during military service. They are not being closed or settled. Our Elliot Kim has more.
There are currently 119 million dormant bank accounts in Korea, nearly 3 accounts per person. The total remaining deposits in these accounts? Around $1.25 billion. Financial authorities have identified 5 major reasons for accounts reaching dormant status. Bank accounts made for students in middle and high school that are neglected after graduation, military payroll accounts, savings-based scholarships granted when moving schools, loan interest transfer accounts, and long-term savings accounts made before switching banks. Not only do dormant accounts incur unnecessary administrative costs for banks, but if left alone, they could be exploited for criminal use.
It may not be a lot of money, but it can help families. In rare cases, the accounts are exploited for money laundering or illegal trading. So it's helpful if customers settle accounts that aren't being used.
It's not hard to find dormant accounts if you have an official certificate. You can find dormant accounts by going to the Pine website and clicking Find My Dormant Money. You can then transfer the money to another account and close the dormant account. You can see all of your bank accounts at the bank counter, but the drawbacks are that you have to close all of your accounts separately by visiting each individual bank. Elliot Kim, Business Daily.
Kakao Bank, Korea's newest player in the banking sector, has seen incredible figures in its first week of business. As of this morning, the lender said more than 1.5 million new accounts have been opened, along with over 1 million debit cards issued. $580 million worth of deposits have been made, and $440 million worth of loans have been extended. Those numbers nearly match K-Bank's figures achieved in a fraction of the time, and also represents a healthy loan-to-deposit ratio of about 76%. In response to overwhelming demand, Kakao Bank has hired over 80 new customer service representatives and plans to open a second customer service center. While Korea's equity markets have been on a long winning stretch, the benchmark Kospi is showing signs of fatigue, falling below the psychologically important 2,400 mark on Thursday. For more, we have our Lee Ju-young on the phone with us today. Hello, Ju-young.
Good afternoon.
So, Ju-young, tell us about the big dip that happened today.
Myung-gil, the benchmark Kospi actually fell as much as 50 points or over 2% at its intraday low on late Thursday morning. At the closing bell, the benchmark Kospi fell 1.68% to close at 2,386.85, while the tech-heavy Kosdaq also tumbled 2.19% to finish at 643.09. On the foreign exchange counter, the Korean won weakened against the greenback at 1,128.75 won per dollar. Experts say the plunge comes as investors pocketed gains from the recent rally, with the benchmark index having surged roughly 18% in the first half of this year, an unprecedented boom in the local stock market. Other factors like the government's revised tax and real estate measures, along with President Trump's hardline trade protectionist stance against China, have also contributed to the plunge. Most large caps traded in negative terrain today, with tech shares weighing on the main index. Samsung Electronics lost nearly 2.5%, while SK Hynix retreated almost 3.7%.
So along with the Kospi, other Asian indexes were mostly lower on Thursday, but the Dow Jones Industrial Average rallied, closing above the 22,000 mark on Wednesday, right?
That's right. The Dow closed at a record 22,016.24 on Wednesday, scaling the 22,000 plateau just 107 days after it breached the 21,000 mark. Market watchers attribute this to robust gains from Apple, which posted better than expected quarterly earnings. This has been Lee Ju-young for Business Daily.
A special committee which will decide whether to halt the construction of 2 nuclear reactors held a meeting at the National Assembly to fine-tune its list of responsibilities. It will decide on whether to conduct polls or hold town hall meetings to determine the fate of the Shinggori 5 and 6 nuclear reactors in the southeastern city of Ulsan. Prime Minister Lee Na-kyun previously said the government will take into account the committee's decision, but made it clear the government has the final say in the matter. The Moon Jae-in administration is getting serious about reducing the country's reliance on nuclear power. Last month, board members of the state-run nuclear operator decided to suspend the construction of 2 nuclear reactors in the southeastern city of Ulsan for 3 months due to safety concerns. It marks a turning point for a country known for its heavy reliance on nuclear power and could have extensive economic ramifications. For more on this, we have Kim Ji-han joining us in the studio. Hello, Ji-han.
Hello, Myung-gil.
So, why is the government trying to pursue this nuclear-free energy at this point of time?
Well, sure, because Korea lacks natural resources and it has to rely on something to meet its energy needs. And that's why it's been investing heavily in nuclear power. And the nuclear energy has become vital, generating around 30% of Korea's total power supply, the second highest after coal-fired power plants. And Korea has also become a powerhouse of nuclear technology, building its first homegrown plant in 1995, as well as its export of 4 reactors to the UAE in a landmark 2009 deal. By 2010, Korea was one of the world's top 5 exporters of nuclear energy technology, following the US, Canada, France, and Russia. Korea's total number of exports accumulated to more than $21 billion across 860 different projects by 2015. And the country's nuclear energy industry is estimated to have grown 8.5% annually to record combined sales close to $23.6 billion in 2015, while generating more than 35,000 jobs. And the global market for nuclear energy is expanding, with the International Atomic Energy Agency estimating the global market to be worth $266 billion by 2030. But with Korea's appetite for nuclear energy now on the wane, state funding for R&D, along with thousands of jobs in the sector, are now at risk.
Right, Tian, and also the nuclear-free path is not only going to affect our jobs, but probably also our electricity bills too, right?
Right. Well, if you look in the case of Germany, which decommissioned that it will go nuclear-free in 2011, it experienced a rise in energy costs, with its citizens footing some of the heftiest electric bills in the European Union. Take a look. Boston Consulting Group, a U.S.-based global management consulting firm, estimated the electric bill paid by German households have increased by more than 40% over 13 years from 2000, similar to Italy, which also began phasing out nuclear power in 1990. Their electric bills soared 40% over a 10-year period since 2000. Rising power costs were also seen in Japan after announcing its plan to go nuclear-free, with electric bills paid by local industries increasing 29% over the last 5 years. The Korean government has dismissed concerns of a similar effect happening here, saying there won't be a hike in power bills over the next 5 years. Still, in the longer period, a rising energy costs appear to be inevitable unless the country provides alternatives soon. Korea's steel industry, vital to the country's exports, may suffer the heaviest blow as their plant operations are very power demanding. For example, Hyundai Steel, Korea's second largest steelmaker, is estimated to have used more than 12,000 gigawatts of electricity in 2015 alone, with the company's electric bill coming to roughly $1 billion. So an electricity price hike could be a double-edged sword in that it could induce households to save electricity, but it could also lower the competitiveness of Korean exporters.
Now, Tion, I think that once a reactor is shut down, I'm sure it will take a long time to actually construct a new one. Too long that it can't provide immediate power shortage solutions. What do you have to say on that?
You're absolutely right. And not to mention, it takes a couple of decades to dismantle a single reactor. And I've talked to a local expert who gave me a crash course on the dismantling process. Take a look.
It takes around 5 years to cool down the fuel rods that have been burning non-stop for half a century. After the temperature's gone down, the reactor is ready to be cut apart with lasers, which requires sophisticated technology. During this process, some parts can be recycled while others are discarded. It's similar to dismantling a subway station, only with huge amounts of radiation.
That's why humans are not being sent to the reactors to handle them directly during the first phase of the decommissioning process, since the remains would expose workers to dangerous levels of radiation. So remotely controlled robots are needed, which presents difficult technical challenges. And Korea is not alone in facing such an obstacle. Only the US and a handful of other countries have been successful in fully dismantling reactors.
And shifting gears, Korea's energy ministry said dismantling reactors will be actually a boon to the related industries. Is there any weight to this argument?
Well, my answer is lukewarm at best. And the reason why is that I see the reasoning. The government is referring to the IAEA estimate that the global market for reactor dismantling and waste management is expected to be worth $900 billion by 2050. But due to the vastly different nature of dismantling reactors compared to their construction processes, developing the technology needed to decommission reactors is expected to take a long time, like couples of decades. And with this in mind, the expert who I talked to say that despite these opportunities, the market is actually a red ocean, so to speak, and Korea could also experience a brain drain of experts involved in the construction of the reactors, since the country no longer needs their expertise.
Well, as you mentioned, the red ocean, we'll have to see how the government continues with its nuclear energy policies. Thank you for the report, Tian.
No sweat.
South Korea has joined an exclusive club of submarine exporting nations after delivering a vessel to the Indonesian Navy. It comes just 30 years after Seoul first received the know-how of building submarines from Germany. Won Jung-hwan tells us more.
A Korean-built submarine rows out to sea. Next stop, Indonesia. This submarine, named Nagapsa, is ready for a handover to Indonesia's Ministry of Defense at a shipyard in Koje, a city in Gyeongsangnam-do Province. Nagapsa can travel for 19,000 kilometers a round trip between Korea and Los Angeles without making any stop at a port, and is also equipped with 8 offensive torpedo tubes along with other cutting-edge weaponry. Indonesian Defense Minister Liamizard Liakut said he is pleased with the submarine.
I am expecting that this 1,400-ton submarine will act as a key strategic weapon for our maritime security in Indonesia.
As Daewoo Shipbuilding and Engineering delivers the submarine to Indonesia, it marks the first submarine export by a Korean company. Daewoo took on a $1.1 billion contract in 2011 to provide Indonesia with 3 submarines, the other 2 of which are currently under construction.
We believe that we can guarantee the cost of the technology we have invested in. We hope that our technology can contribute to the Korean Navy, as well as continuing our partnership with the Indonesian Navy.
The handover of the vessel is regarded as Korea's success in commercializing the technology which the country first received from Germany in 1988. In the space of just 30 years, Korea has developed its submarine industry to the extent that it is now a submarine exporting nation. With the sale of these 3 vessels, Korea joins an elite group of submarine exporting countries, including the UK, France, Russia, and Germany. Won Jung-hwan, Business Daily.
China has made its name as the world's top investor in renewable energy. And more recently, it's become home to a unique solar plant that is shaped like a giant panda in a tribute to its national treasure. Eunice Kim takes us there.
Up close, it looks like any other solar station, with thousands of panels to collect sunlight to be turned into electricity. Pull back to a bird's-eye view and the plant takes the shape of a lovable bear, native to China and an icon of conservation.
We all know that globally, both adults and children like pandas. Panda is a climate ambassador and a peace ambassador, delivering our aspiration for a green earth to the whole world.
It sprawls over some 1,500 acres in northern Shaanxi province, China's coal-producing capital. A $52 million undertaking, the world's first Panda power plant was partly financed by the United Nations Development Fund. And upon completion, is expected to deliver upwards of 100 megawatts of clean energy, enough to power 10,000 households.
Both sides of the panels can generate electricity, showcasing the high efficiency of our Panda power plant. The capacity of the front part is around 310 watts, while the back is about 30 watts. They are part of the face and belly of the Panda, and the color difference forms the shape of the Panda.
It's the first among 100 solar farms planned along China's Belt and Road Initiative, a plan the Hong Kong-based company says will come at a cost of $3 billion. While it's unclear how the company will acquire that massive capital, it says it's in talks with several other countries, including Australia, Canada, and Italy, to bring the panda-shaped solar stations there, with the goal of spreading the love of clean energy via the black-eyed bear. Eunice Kim, Business Daily.
The number of senior citizens living alone in Korea continues to rise. To cater to this growing group, tech developers are coming up with devices that allow family members to care for them even from a distance. Ian introduces some of their creations.
59-year-old Park Bo-nam has been living in a humble dwelling by himself for quite a while now. Tucked away from the city's modern skyscrapers, this village is home to mostly low-income households. He suffers from a number of illnesses, including diabetes, glaucoma, and blood pressure problems.
I'm always in pain. I get taken to the hospital frequently.
Residents like Park require close attention at all times. So, starting in May, a care device has been by his side, monitoring him at home 24/7. A smart light controlled by remote is installed at his house. Embedded with a motion sensor, it detects the movements of a home's residents. When it goes for too long without detecting any movement, the device notifies carers at the nearby community center, so they can contact the elderly resident.
We can change the LED light sensor settings to suit the resident's activity level. The sensor is often set to be more sensitive at night when the seniors are asleep, so that it can detect even the slightest motion.
And the residents seek immediate medical assistance, they can get help ASAP with a press of a button.
These devices are installed across some 60 residences in the area. We get to interact with them more often as we have to promote and give instructions in person.
From social workers dropping by homes to check up on seniors who live alone, to phoning and texting, to this, technology and automation is doing what was once quite physical work. As Korea rapidly moves towards a super-aging society, so is the emergence of new tech-based services.
While services in the past were limited in checking whether senior citizens were alive, nowadays the tech advancement is expanding to also improve the overall quality of their lives by screening and analyzing their activity level, location, what they eat, what medicines they take, and other things.
One of Korea's major telecommunications operators teamed up with a local startup to launch a GPS locator service this year. This small tracking device allows people to find their senior family members using a wireless network platform. Charge the device for 90 minutes and it's good to go for up to 5 days straight. Its location can be found using a smartphone app, but just how precise are we talking?
So what I'm about to do is I'm going to take this device with me and just go for a walk around the neighborhood, maybe go to a convenience store or the nearest school to see how accurately the GPS program can track me down.
It can pinpoint the exact travel route and display a bird's eye view of all the places it has passed by, minute by minute. The tracker also comes with a help button to send out alerts straight away.
A lot of customers are concerned for the well-being of their elderly parents who live by themselves in rural areas. In a few months, we'll introduce an even tinier version of this on an armband that can also monitor one's heartbeat, designed for seniors and those who suffer from dementia.
Letting the elderly remain independent while keeping them safe. Wearable monitoring gadgets and smart home technology are a growing option for caregivers and families across the nation. But as seniors can be intimidated by the things they're not accustomed to, comprehensive instructions and ease of use are ultimately going to determine how much this new technology can benefit the elderly. Lee In-shin, Business Daily.
That does it for now. We'll be back with more business news, same time, same place, here at Business Daily. As always, thank you for watching. Goodbye.